Okay, so um, let's unpack this. We are really staring down the barrel of the NFL trade deadline, November 4th. And, for a team that usually cruises, one of the league's perennial contenders, the Kansas City Chiefs, suddenly facing a real high-stakes situation, feels like they have to act.
And that urgency is, yeah, it's absolutely palpable. And the goal here for this deep dive, it isn't just like listing names. It's about finding that perfect high-value fit on defense, a real surgical strike, you could say, something to fix their biggest weakness right now before it gets too late.
And that urgency, it really stems from them being 5-4, right? After that loss to the Bills, snapped a short 3-game win streak. I mean, 5-4 for the Chiefs. That feels like 0-9 for almost anyone else. The pressure cooker must be on full blast over there.
Yeah. Oh, it is. And the most compelling sign of that urgency, it's coming straight from the locker room. When Patrick Mahomes, the guy, the face of the franchise, is saying publicly they need to be more consistent and that they're facing an uphill battle against their next opponents, two 7-2 teams, Denver and Indy, well, the front office has got to be thinking aggressively.
Exactly. And those games coming up, they're not just against good teams. They're against teams that are going to bring a certain physical challenge, especially right after the bye. So it seems like the Chiefs kind of need some outside help to match that physicality. Okay, so let's diagnose first. Before the solution, got to pinpoint the actual problem. What are the numbers telling us about that interior D-line?
Well, looking at the sources we've got, the biggest issue is maybe a bit counterintuitive. Everyone loves talking about, getting a flashy edge rusher. Makes sense. But the data, it really screams that the Chiefs' biggest need right now is a serious upgrade at defensive tackle, specifically against the run.
Okay, DT, why there and not the edge? Because usually when you hear defense needs help, the conversation goes straight to QB pressure from the outside guys.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is the specific data Aaron Schatz from ESPN highlighted. This was back on October 29th. He basically said, look, edge rush is fine to talk about, but the bigger hole, the one causing, let's say, structural problems, it's that interior DT spot. And the sources, they get pretty specific about who's struggling there.
They name names, yeah. Talk about Derek Anati, the current DT, and the numbers. Well, they're kind of brutal, aren't they? Especially in context.
They really are. Inati is currently dead last among all qualifying DTs in a really key metric, run-stop win rate. He's clocking in at just 13.2%. And just so you know, run-stop win rate, that measures how often a defender actually beats his block and stops the runner near the line of scrimmage, like within a yard.
So 13.2%, that means what, more than 6 times out of 7? He's basically losing that battle, failing to disrupt the run.
That's exactly it, yeah. And when your interior collapses that often, it just puts immense strain on the whole defense. Plus, okay, while he doesn't play a ton of obvious passing down snaps, his pass rush win rate, it's sitting at 0, a flat 0%.
Whoa, hang on. 0. Let me just play devil's advocate for a second here. Could his role maybe be just to eat up blockers?
Yeah.
Anchor the middle, let others make plays. Does the data account for scheme, or is 0 just always bad?
That's a really fair question. It highlights the difference between just raw stats and, how they're applied on the field. But even if his main job is anchoring a competitive DT, they should still win sometimes, even against double teams, or at least generate some kind of pressure occasionally. A 0% win rate, though, that suggests minimal disruption, period, which, frankly, is tough, especially when you're about to face teams who are definitely going to try and run it down your throat, control the clock. You need some push from the inside.
Okay, got it. So the Chiefs need immediate help. Proven impact. Someone to fix a statistically crippling weakness. And that immediate solution, based on what we're seeing in the sources, it's a name that honestly sounds like it belongs in Canton already. Kelly Campbell.
Right. And this is where the story shifts, from the problem to the potential fix. We're talking about an 18-year vet, a 6-time Pro Bowler, who somehow is still playing elite football at 39 years old. He's with the Cardinals now, but yeah, very much a viable trade target.
39?
Yeah.
And still playing better than, 90% of the league at his position? Just take a second on that. It's wild. He was playing when some of his current teammates were probably, in elementary school. So what makes a player like that available right now, just before the deadline?
It mostly comes down to Arizona being in a full rebuild. And maybe surprisingly, they actually have some decent depth there, despite their record.
Huh. The Cardinals, rebuilding, have the luxury of trading maybe their best, most consistent defensive guy. Seems kind of weird, unless the money aspect is huge.
It's actually less about the money, though that doesn't hurt, and more about their roster plan. Bill Barnwell at ESPN specifically called Campbell the only notable trade candidate on that roster. The thinking is the Cardinals have younger D linemen, Walter Nolan III, B.J. Ojulari, guys who are, quote, theoretically set to return. They need playing time in the back half of the season for development.
Ah, okay.
Mhm.
So Arizona gets more value from clearing snaps and grabbing a future pick than from having a great 39-year-old finish out the year on an expiring deal.
Exactly that. For a team looking years down the road, a late-round pick, maybe some cap flexibility, that's way more valuable than even great current performance from a veteran who won't be there next year. They're trading present production for future assets. Makes sense for them.
Okay, that clicks for the Cardinals, but what about Campbell himself? We got to address that wrinkle. Does he even want to move? A guy with his resume, he's probably earned some say, right?
That's the one potential snag mentioned. Yeah, he might have like a strong sentimental pull, wants to simply finish his career where it started in Arizona. It could be. But the key thing the sources emphasize is his performance level. He is demonstrably good enough to be playing real, meaningful snaps for a serious Super Bowl contender. The sources explicitly mention the Chiefs or maybe the Bills as, ideal fits.
And looking at that performance data, I mean, it's kind of shocking any team would let him go, regardless of their depth chart. So let's dig into that value proposition, because this is where it goes from maybe a good idea to feeling like an absolute must-do for KC.
You really have to look at the PFF grades to get the full picture of how elite he still is, despite being 39. I mean, an age where most D linemen are long retired. Campbell ranked as the 12th best defensive tackle in the entire league. That was after week 8.
12th best. In the whole NFL, that's not just impressive, that's potentially game-wrecking. But let's hone in on that specific KC weakness we identified, the run defense.
Yeah.
How does Campbell stack up against Donati's rough 13.2% run-stop win rate?
Yeah, his run D grades are actually even stronger than his overall rank. He ranks 11th. 11th out of 126 qualifying interior guys in run stops. So this isn't just an upgrade we're talking about. It's like a seismic shift. If the Chiefs are getting gashed inside, struggling to hold the point, bringing in the 11th ranked run defender in the league, that's about as clear and direct a solution as you could possibly find.
Okay, but let's, pump the brakes slightly.
Mm-hmm.
Necessary skepticism with older players, right? A 39-year-old potential Super Bowl run, fewer days off, maybe more intensity. Is there a fatigue risk? What do the snap counts say? Are the Chiefs getting someone durable for every down, or is he more of a situational guy at this point?
That's a really important check, for sure. And what seems smart about how Campbell's been used, how he's maintained this production, it's his usage. He's been managed effectively. He's playing at that elite level, yes, but he's not being asked to carry, the full load of a 25-year-old. His snaps are optimized, keep him efficient, keep him fresh enough to maintain that top 12 performance. So he wouldn't be replacing a Nadi snap for snap necessarily. He'd be bringing that high-level efficiency and disruption that Nadi's currently lacking. It forces the coaches to manage those snaps for the biggest impact.
Right, makes sense. And he's not purely a run stuffer either. What's his pass rush look like this season? Because if he offers nothing there, then yeah, maybe he is just a two-down player.
No, his pressure output is actually pretty significant, too. Through those first 8 games, he had logged 17 QB pressures. That broke down into 8 hurries, 6 hits, and 3 sacks. And crucially, the sources noted he picked up another QB hit in that Cowboys game on November 3rd, right before the deadline talk heated up. That's real interior pressure, something the Chiefs just haven't consistently had.
Okay, so a perfect fit statistically, positionally. Top 12 overall, top 11 against the run, adds pass rush. Solves their biggest statistical problem. Now, the practical stuff. What's the cost? What does it take to get this veteran stud?
And this truly is why the sources are calling him one of the best potential values in football heading into the deadline. He's on an expiring 1-year deal, paying him just $5.5 million, which means, his contract is super manageable, doesn't create any long-term cap headaches for Kansas City.
$5.5 million.
Okay.
And the trade compensation, what draft pick are we looking at?
This is key. The sources are suggesting the Chiefs could likely get him for something as low as a day 3 pick. Maybe a 5th rounder, could even be a 6th. And just to define that for you listening, a day 3 pick, that's a low-risk lottery ticket, basically. They rarely turn into immediate impact guys. So trading one of those for an 18-year vet, ranked 12th in the league, who solves your biggest problem right now, and doesn't touch your valuable 1st or 2nd rounders, that feels like a no-brainer move for a team that's still in their Super Bowl window.
Yeah, a low-cost, high-impact veteran boost, acquired for minimal future capital. It really is the definition of that high-value fit we talked about. Addresses that 5-4 slump directly.
And if you connect it all back to what Mahomes was saying, a move like this It shows that locker room that management is just as serious about fixing that consistency issue. When your starting DT is last in the league in key run stats and you bring in a top-tier vet who immediately plugs that hole, that's decisive action. It shifts the whole narrative from, man, we're struggling, to, okay, we're committed to winning right now.
It really feels like a flawless strategic fit on paper. The Chiefs are 5-4, facing that uphill battle.
Quick as neat.
Effective DT, because their current guy has really low win rates.
Mhm.
The solution, Calais Campbell, 6-time Pro Bowler, ranked 12th overall, 11th against the run, gettable for a day 3 pick, expiring, low-cost deal. His current team, Arizona, has depth and wants future assets. It's just the kind of move championship teams have to make when they hit a rough patch like this.
Totally. They're not looking for someone to develop over multiple years here. They need a catalyst, a player who doesn't need weeks to learn a complex new system, just needs to get in there and disrupt the interior line, which, he's been doing pretty successfully for about 2 decades now.
Right. Which brings up maybe one final important thought for you, the listener, to chew on as you think about all this. When a team like the Chiefs is struggling with consistency, Mahomes said it himself, they're kind of leaning on their championship pedigree, their experience to pull through.
Yeah, but think about this. What does it say when a 39-year-old guy like Calais Campbell, a 6-time Pro Bowler who's done almost everything individually, a guy who has absolutely earned the right to choose where he plays, what does his willingness to potentially sacrifice that familiarity, leave Arizona, and finish his career somewhere else, what does that say about the Chiefs' remaining potential, even at 5-4?
That's interesting. If a veteran like that, with his stature, is willing to chase a ring in Kansas City right now, mid-season, despite the slump, despite that tough schedule coming up, it almost validates the idea that, yeah, the Chiefs still have that Super Bowl window wide open, doesn't it? That external belief from a guy like him, maybe that's almost as valuable to the team's mindset as his 11th-ranked run-stop ability, something to think about.